Hi class, teacher Tammy here, and we are with your client, Amber Vasca. Give me a minute. So, Amber is the Executive Director of Tribal Government and Tribal Services for the Tanana Chiefs Conference. And for this class, she has another hat on as the chair for the World Eskimo Indian Olympics, affectionately known as WEIO, that's how you pronounce it. Amber just got her MBA from West Texas A&M in healthcare management, and she got her undergrad, her bachelor's in marketing from UAF. And most importantly, Amber took this class, I think, the first semester. So welcome, Amber.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and be able to participate in this semester.
We are glad that you are too. So let's find out more about WEIO. In one sentence, describe WEIO.
So WEIO is a nonprofit organization where we get to celebrate and bring our community together to celebrate Alaska Native culture through games, regalia, dancing, and then Native arts.
So what is remarkable and unique about WEIO?
So WEIO is one of the only events in Alaska where we come together statewide to celebrate our Alaska Native cultures. We include all of the various Native groups in Alaska, so it's the Yupik, Inupiaq, Athabaskan, Aleut, Tlingit, and there's a whole bunch more that I didn't list, but those are some of the major cultures. And we all come together. It's one of the only competitions that allows adults to compete, because we also have Native Youth Olympics in the springtime for our high school students. And it's an event where we also get a lot of tourists and worldwide viewers. So we have people who travel from Europe, from Finland, from Australia. We get all kinds of tourists who come to Alaska and come to WEIO to see the celebration and be a part of the celebration of our cultures.
Yeah, you've kind of taken us right into the next question, is who are your competitors and why?
So,
who wants to see those tourists besides WEIO?
I would say we kind of have two target markets. One target is our local Alaskans and the other is tourists. So for tourists, we're competing with the tour companies, and because they have, like, they're going to Denali, they're going to Anchorage on the cruise ships. So we want to get their attention to come to Fairbanks and be here in the third week of July so that they can experience the World Eskimo Indian Olympics. There's no other event during our same time period, but if they do want to see Alaska Native cultures, they could kind of go to the Morris Thompson Center or to the UA Museum and see it, but they don't really get that experience that you get at WEIO. For more of our local, because we're competing for our local Alaskans, we have some unique competitors, I would say. I would say it's the same time as fishing season, and so there's a lot of extracurricular activities that our Alaskans have to weigh in, whether they want to go to WEIO or they want to fish or provide for their family. So that's one competing interest. We also are competing because it's Alaska in the summer and it's beautiful. There's softball going on, there's Golden Days going on, so we pack a lot of things in the summertime, and so we have a lot of various competitors for those two different groups.
Before we move on to your social properties, I do want to mention, you're an athlete. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes. So I've been competing in the Alaska Native Games since 5th grade. I was not very good in 5th grade when I first started in Aniak, which is my community I'm from on the Kuskokwim River. But I have this thing that if something is hard, I try really hard. I try my best at it, and I just became in love with the games through middle school and high school and through my WEIO journey. My two favorite games are the kneel jump. So you start on your knees and you get 3 tries to jump as far as you can, and then also the 2-foot high kick. So you jump off of 2 feet, kick a ball suspended in the air with 2 feet, and land in 2 feet. And so I actually, if you want to learn more about kind of my journey, I do have a YouTube video that we created because the Alaska Native Education had wanted to do an interview, and you could learn a little bit more about my journey.
Yeah, we will definitely link to that. Let's move on to your social properties. So what social media platforms do you currently use, and why did you choose them to reach your audience?
So this is my first year, like first month, fresh as a chair. So I don't know a lot of the history in our decisions, but our current social media platforms are Facebook and Instagram. And I'm assuming those were selected because they have some of the broadest audience. Since one of our target markets is tourists, they tend to be older and they're kind of doing a bucket list, so it kind of makes sense to be on Facebook and to capture those.
So tell us, as a new chair and a younger person, what platforms are you interested in adding to your portfolio and why?
I would be interested in adding platforms that capture the attention of the younger generation. And it's more of a personal, where we're trying to ensure that we have cultural preservation and we're continuing to pass this on. And we want to have our youth interested in WEIO and to continue WEIO. And one thing that we see is a lot of times our youth are in Native Youth Olympics, and then they're really into WEIO for the first 2 or 3 years after graduation, and then their interest kind of fades because life begins. You get a job, you get family and stuff, but we want to make sure we capture their interests throughout their livelihood, so they continue to participate in WEIO. So that's one thing that I want to do personally. And then whatever platforms you think best are for our tourists downstates and worldwide, which I'm assuming is probably Facebook, but I am open to ideas.
Well, one of the things that I think students may pick WEIO as their client is because they'll get to learn more about the Alaska Native culture. So can you share a little bit what they might need to know about the culture in general so that we're sensitive to that, and then how that might affect social media?
Yeah, so it's really good when you're working with Indigenous populations just to understand that you're really coming from a Western view and a Western framework, and it's a very new idea to our Indigenous people because we've been on the lands for millennia, for thousands of years, and it's only been recently, especially in Alaska, when outside people started to live in the state. Alaska just turned 50, so we're a pretty young state, and it's been a lot of transition for our people. So just understanding that sometimes we might think one way of doing it is the best way, but sometimes that's just from our Western thinking. And in our Alaska Native cultures, we like to think of things more holistically. Things are interconnected. We're interconnected with the land, with the animals, and a lot of our stories, humans weren't the creator, but our creators were the animals and the land itself, and they allowed the humans to be on the land. But other than that, some of the values in our culture is we love humor. So if you're ever close to a group of natives, especially native aunties, you'll hear laughing, loud laughing, because we love humor. We keep it in our everyday lives. And then the other thing is we don't like to brag. So it's hard when you're trying to sometimes get someone to say all the cool things they've done, because we have that value of not bragging about things. So those were just a few things.
That is so helpful, and thank you for sharing to give us a peek into Alaska American Native culture and just it's fascinating. So I think that will be a big help, let's see, plan your social media. All right, what are your social media marketing goals for this project?
My goals are to get ideas. So at WEIO, we have a board, and so I'm chair, but our board is the working board. So we're doing all of the work.
And you're talking board of directors.
Yes, board of directors.
Not a
Sorry.
Pinterest board.
We're board of directors, and we're a working board. So we're in the off season right now, so it's more of a planning part of the season, so we have a little bit more time. And in the past, it was the chair and the co-chair who kind of oversaw the social media platforms, but I don't think they had a specific strategy to get certain audiences. For example, in the wintertime, we'd want to be targeting the tourists because that's generally when you're making your plans for the summertime for travel. And then we'd want to work closer to WEIO, focusing on the Alaska target market to make, because in Alaska you could be like, oh, next weekend I want to travel to Anchorage. Like, it's not too hard of a thing to travel to Fairbanks, but leading up to WEIO, we would probably want to focus more on that market. And so my goal is to get your guys' ideas. I love hearing other people's ideas because I'm an idea person and like making connections. And I actually love social marketing, and it was one of my favorite classes, so I'm super excited to just get your ideas, incorporate it into a strategy that we can start carrying out.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear it was one of your favorite classes. I didn't even hope you to say that. All right, there's always challenges. What are some of your social media challenges?
Our challenges probably is that we're a working board. So we do have a few board members who don't have jobs, but most of us are working full-time. So the time dedicated to social media isn't a lot. I estimated maybe 3 to 5 hours a week I could dedicate. We also don't have a dedicated budget at this time, but it's something, if there's a recommendation from the class about making a budget for certain things, it's something that I could bring to the board for us to discuss. So,
Well, let's talk about the class. What's one thing, they've got 3 months or so to work on this, that you absolutely want to see for the students in this plan?
From the students?
Like, what do you want to happen in the plan no matter what? It's like all this other stuff may be extra, but I definitely want to see this in this.
I would definitely want, sorry, random question. Are you doing like content calendars, or is it just?
They'll do a mock-up of content. They were not going to do the whole thing for you, and they won't do obvious, like, it's Christmas time, do Christmas. You know,
yeah.
They'll try, but like, you've given us your timeline, so they will say, here's what we suggest during these time periods.
So from the class, I would want to see how we can use various media on our social media. Being WEIO and celebrating our cultures, we have a lot of great pictures, we have a lot of great videos. So we have a lot of content that I think we can use in a productive way to attract our target markets. But we just kind of need that plan on what's the best way to juggle those sorts of medias to get to our market.
All right. And I will give you homework, because that was one of the things I was thinking, is that we'll set up a Google folder for you and have you pop in some pictures and videos for them.
Oh, yes. I can definitely do that.
We're almost to the end at this point. Anything else you want to share with the students?
I just wanted to share a little bit about the sporting games themselves. Each game, so these games were passed down from generation to generation through traditional knowledge and through sharing. And how we teach the next generation is have them do it. So these games have a long history, and each game has kind of a specific reason why we do that game. So I would definitely, I'm open to kind of sharing like an outline of the games and stuff, but it's something really cool because, which is another unique thing I think about Alaska Native games in general, is that each game is just full of history and richness, and it's really unique. So.
Well, that sounds exciting, and definitely you don't see anything like this anywhere in the world. So what a unique experience for our students, and thank you for allowing this partnership.
Yeah, thank you so much.